Welcome to Karen's place, the space she uses to innovate. She'll make sure you're left thinking, I could do the same thing. Karen says, just do it. There ain't nothing to it. Just do it.
Welcome back, everyone. You know, last time, we got a glimpse into Karen's current creative process, and it was really fascinating to see how much AI is a part of it now.
It really is incredible the things she's doing with AI these days.
But today, we're going way back, think late 2000s, before AI was anything like it is now.
Oh, wow. So before all these fancy tools we have now.
Yeah. Basically, we're going on a little deep dive into Karen's proto-AI phase, for lack of a better term.
I love that. Proto-AI, it really captures that era, doesn't it? All those creators were already using technology in such interesting ways, even if it wasn't as, sophisticated as what we have now.
Right, and it's almost eerie to see how those early experiments kind of foreshadow her current work.
Like looking back and seeing the seeds of what was to come.
Exactly. Like, remember all those lip sync videos that were everywhere on YouTube years ago? Well, Karen was making those way back then, using a program called Crazy Talk Pro.
Crazy Talk Pro, huh? Now that takes me back. For its time, it was pretty groundbreaking. Just imagine being able to take a static image and making it look like it's talking.
It's wild. Like, stop motion, but digital,
Yeah. You'd upload an image, could be a photo, a drawing, anything, really. And Crazy Talk would analyze the shape of the mouth.
Okay. And
Then you'd record your voice, and the software would try to map the mouth movements to your audio. Of course, it wasn't perfect. The movements could be a bit jerky, and you couldn't really do full facial expressions, just the mouth, really.
Makes sense. But I can only imagine the patience that must have taken compared to, how easily AI can do it now.
Absolutely. You had to do everything manually, tweaking and adjusting to get the timing even somewhat right. It was a labor of love, for sure.
So how did Karen actually use this Crazy Talk Pro in her work?
Well, from around 2008 to 2010, she had this YouTube channel called Grandma Claus, and she used it to make videos for that. And, she didn't just use Crazy Talk, she also used another program called Gimp to create and edit the actual images for the video.
Wow, wait, so she was making the images herself from scratch.
Yeah, she was. Total DIY multimedia artist, even back then.
That's impressive. Do we have any examples of these Grandma Claus videos? I'd love to see what she was creating back then.
We do. We found a couple of her early videos. Let's take a listen to a clip from one called The Creator and then one from The Enchanted Wood, Chapter 2.
All right, let's hear it.
Here's the first one.
Red memories closely coveted shimmerings of who knew the mind, transcriptions of the creator. Rustling whispers tap against the pain, perfect rhythm of pain's grasp on reality's pasts, kept contained by the creator. Silver lightning dancing flora caught on breezes of forever. Whispers sway between night and day, the music of the creator.
Wow, just listening to that, I'm struck by how much work went into every single second of that. I can see why we called it proto-AI, She was already using tech to do something that would later become so much easier with AI.
Exactly. And it really speaks to her vision and just like her willingness to really embrace technology to, to bring that vision to life.
Absolutely. Okay, let's hear that second clip from The Enchanted Wood.
All right, here it is.
Chapter 28, The Little Lost Island. "Wouldn't you like to wish," said Moonface, turning to the old saucepan man who was just about to bite his cake. "Fish?" said the saucepan man in delight. "Yes, I'd love to fish. I wish we were all fishing for fine fat fishes in the middle of the sea." Well, what a wish to make! Just as he was eating a wishing cake, of course. Saucepan didn't know it was a wishing cake, for he hadn't heard Moonface properly. Anyway, the wish immediately came true.
Okay, that's giving me serious early YouTube vibes. So much nostalgia.
Oh, no, right? That whole era, people were just like experimenting with all these new tools and coming up with crazy ideas.
And some interesting results.
For sure. But it's fascinating to look back and see how it all led to what we have today.
Totally. It's like Karen was ahead of her time, She was exploring all these creative possibilities long before they became mainstream. And you know what else is interesting? That same DIY spirit, that drive to create these immersive experiences, is even more apparent in her 2017 project, Jerrymanders.
Jerrymanders is such a great example of like her early ambition, just this grand multimedia vision.
What exactly was Jerrymanders all about?
Well, the heart of it was this long poem she wrote, over 2,000 words.
Wow. Okay. A long poem.
But it wasn't just any poem. It was like the foundation for this whole dark urban fantasy universe she created. She called it Reachville.
Reachville. What's that, like a magical city or something?
Yeah, but not your typical fairy tale setting. Think more like gritty urban landscape with, dark alleys and a sense of mystery around every corner. Kind of a world where mythical creatures and everyday people coexist.
Oh, that's cool. So
In Reachville, reach me, I say, and shoot an invisible rift of air into his chest, holding him there to the cool of the pavement in night air.
you just leave it at the poem, or did she, like, expand on this world in other ways?
She definitely didn't just leave it at the poem. She actually built a whole interactive website for Reachville.
An interactive website. Back in 2017.
Yeah. And it wasn't just like a static web page. It was more like an experience. You could explore different districts, learn about the characters, the events, even dive into the lore of this world.
Wow, so she was already building worlds and experimenting with different mediums even back then.
Absolutely. Jerrymanders really shows how early on she was fascinated with crafting these immersive narratives. It's like she was weaving together words, visuals, and interactivity to create a complete experience. In a way, it's like a precursor to the kinds of expansive worlds she's building now with AI.
It makes you wonder if this project was like the seed for her later work with AI. Did those early experiments with world building and interactive storytelling influence her current approach?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll explore further as we delve deeper into Jerrymanders. What stands out to you so far about Karen's early tech explorations? Anything surprising?
Honestly, I'm just really impressed by her resourcefulness. She was willing to just dive into these technical tools and figure them out. It wasn't about waiting for the perfect tech to come along. It was about finding creative workarounds and pushing the limits of what was possible with whatever tools she had at the time.
Yeah, like she was hacking creativity into existence. I love that. It really captures her spirit.
And that resourcefulness, that drive to experiment, is something you see throughout all her work. Even now, it's like those early experiences laid the groundwork for her fearlessness in embracing AI later on.
Totally agree. So before we jump into Jerrymanders in more detail, I think we should take a moment to appreciate Karen's early journey. It really shows that you don't need the most advanced tools to be creative. It's about vision, experimentation, and the willingness to just get your hands dirty and bring those ideas to life.
I couldn't agree more. And, that's what makes Karen's story so compelling. She's a reminder that innovation often starts with that spark of creativity and, that make it work attitude, no matter how clunky the tools might be.
Absolutely. And that's what makes her story so inspiring. She reminds us that it's not about the tools themselves, it's about the creative spirit driving them.
Well, let's take a closer look at Jerrymanders in the next part of our deep dive. I have a feeling this project holds some crucial clues about her creative evolution and her eventual embrace of AI. I'm really excited to see what other insights we can uncover.
Me too. Let's dive in. Jerrymanders is really fascinating, and you can tell, even back then, she was already pushing the boundaries of storytelling. We were talking about the poem before, the one that's at the heart of it all. Can you tell us a bit more about what it's actually about?
Well, from what I gather, the poem kind of introduces us to this city called Reachville, where, magic and reality are all mixed up together.
Sounds interesting.
But it's not your typical fairy tale kind of magic. It's more like, imagine this gritty urban landscape. Dark alleys, flickering streetlights, that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And there's this sense of mystery hanging over everything.
Oh, I see. So she took those classic film noir elements and kind of put them into a fantasy world. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool because that blend of genres, the dark and the magical, is something she still explores a lot in her work with AI today.
Oh, yeah, totally. You can definitely see the connection there.
And speaking of connections, you mentioned an interactive website before. What was that all about? How did that play into Reachville?
Well, the website was kind of like this online portal into that world she created.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was designed to look like an actual news website, with different sections for local news, events, even gossip columns, all about Reachville.
Wow, that's so clever.
Yeah, and you could click through different districts within the city, each with its own like atmosphere and characters. It's almost like she anticipated those immersive worlds we see in online games today.
It's like she was ahead of her time, you know?
Right. So it wasn't just about reading the poem. It was about actually stepping into that world and exploring it.
Yeah, she was really creating an experience, not just telling a story. And you mentioned earlier she even made music videos for Jerrymanders, right?
She did. Unfortunately, those seem to be lost to the internet void, probably on some forgotten corner of the web somewhere.
Oh, that's a shame. Do you have any idea what kind of music she was making back then?
Well, from what little we know, it seems like she was mixing like dark electronic music with spoken word elements and atmospheric soundscapes.
Oh, wow, that's quite a mix.
Yeah, I think like a proto-cyberpunk vibe. Very moody, experimental. And you have to remember, this was way before AI could just whip up music and visuals like it can now.
Right. She was doing all this stuff manually. It really shows her dedication.
It does. She was composing those pieces and probably creating the visuals herself using whatever tools she could find. Really impressive.
So, to recap, with Jerrymanders, she created this multi-layered experience with a poem, an interactive website, and original music. That's quite ambitious.
Totally. And I think it gives us a really important clue about her fascination with AI. She's always been drawn to pushing the limits of storytelling, exploring new tech, and creating immersive experiences.
And AI is just the next step in that journey, isn't it?
Exactly. It's like a natural progression for her. She's just using a new set of tools to explore those same themes, but in a more in-depth and detailed way.
So it's not a radical shift for her. It's more like an evolution.
Exactly. And that's what I find so inspiring about her story. She's not afraid to embrace new tech, but she always uses it in service of her artistic vision.
It's a great reminder that creative evolution is an ongoing process. You know, it's all about exploration and experimentation. And sometimes those unexpected twists and turns lead to the most amazing breakthroughs.
It's like, those early sketches in an artist's notebook. They might not be masterpieces in themselves, but they hold the potential for something truly incredible. Who knows what they might become?
Love that analogy. Well, as we wrap up our look at Jerrymanders, it's clear that this was a pretty pivotal moment in her creative journey, a testament to her vision, her resourcefulness, and her willingness to really embrace tech to create something unique.
Jerrymanders is like a window into her creative DNA. You see her fascination with world building, her experimentation, and her drive to push the boundaries of storytelling.
And those themes continue to be present in her work, even as she moved into working with AI.
It's really amazing to see, looking back, how it all connects. It's like those early experiments with Crazy Talk Pro and Jerrymanders. They were her training ground.
Yeah. Getting her ready for the even more complex and powerful tools that AI would bring.
And it reminds us that creative growth often happens in stages, through exploration and discovery. And sometimes those unexpected detours lead to the most amazing breakthroughs.
Well, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into Karen's pre-AI work, what stands out to you the most?
For me, it's her unwavering commitment to her craft. It's inspiring. She wasn't afraid to learn new things, to put in the hard work, to bring her ideas to life, even when the tools weren't perfect.
It really speaks volumes about her passion, and her belief in the power of creative expression.
Yeah, it's really inspiring to see that kind of commitment, especially back then when things were so much harder, she was a true trailblazer in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think her story has a really important lesson for anyone who's creative, whether they're working with AI or not. It's not about having the best, fanciest tools. It's about being willing to experiment, to learn new things, and to just push those boundaries, see what you can do.
It's about keeping that DIY spirit alive, even in the age of AI.
Exactly. AI is a fantastic tool, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, it's just that, a tool. The real magic comes from human creativity, from the person behind the AI.
It's like, having a super high-tech kitchen versus actually knowing how to cook. Haha, yeah. You could have all the gadgets and gizmos in the world, but if you don't have the skills and the vision, you're not going to make anything special.
Exactly. Karen's journey really highlights that creative mastery isn't about letting the technology do everything for you. It's about using it to enhance your own unique voice, your own vision.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And it's funny. Looking back at her work before AI, it's almost like she was preparing for it all along, developing those skills, that mindset that would let her really thrive in this new creative world.
Like Crazy Talk Pro and Jerrymanders, those are her training ground, in a way.
Exactly. Getting her ready for the even more powerful tools that AI would bring.
It just goes to show, creative growth is a journey, right?
Yeah.
It's full of exploration and discovery. And sometimes those unexpected detours end up leading to the biggest breakthroughs.
Well said. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Karen's pre-AI work, I think we come away with a real sense of how she's evolved as an artist. We've seen her embrace technology, experiment with different ways of telling stories, and really push those creative limits. And through it all, she stayed true to herself, to her own vision, using technology to amplify her voice and connect with her audience in new and exciting ways.
It's a testament to her passion, her ingenuity, and her belief in the power of creativity. And it leaves us with a really intriguing question. What's she going to create next, now that she has the full potential of AI at her disposal?
Who knows? I can't wait to see what she comes up with.
Me too. It's going to be exciting. But before we go, I think it's worth taking a moment to just appreciate how far she's come. From those early experiments to where she is now, it's really remarkable.
I agree. It's a story that reminds us that anyone can achieve great things with a little bit of passion and a lot of creativity, no matter what tools you have.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Karen's creative evolution. We'll be back soon with another exploration of AI and human creativity.
Until then, keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep creating.
Thanks for